In the absence of Village President Regis Charlot, I, Raphael Shamas, as Village Clerk, will call the July 24th, 2023 Village Board of Trustees meeting to order and call the roll. Trustee Cole?
Here.
Trustee Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Freed?
Here.
Trustee Hatch is absent. Trustee Rappin?
Here.
Trustee Ryder?
Here.
It is the practice of the village for the longest-serving trustee to serve as president pro tem. Trustees Fisher and Ryder have served the longest and have agreed that Trustee Fisher should lead this meeting. Is there a motion to name Trustee Fisher to serve as president pro tem?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Trustee Fisher, the meeting is yours.
Well, I'd like to start by inviting you all to stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to start with item 3, consideration of the minutes of the July 10th, 2023 regular village board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Does anybody have any comments or corrections? Okay, hearing none. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item number 4, non-agenda items and visitors. The village president and board of trustees allocate 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. And I do see a hearty crowd in Village Hall tonight. Do we have anybody online as well?
Yes.
Okay. So what I just ask is that you come up one at a time, speak clearly, introduce yourself. Please, because we do have a lot of people, please be conscientious of the time limit of 5 minutes. We will keep track and I will let you know if your time is up. And in that light, if you do hear somebody making comments that you planned on saying, I welcome you to come up and say, I support the words from the person speaking before, just so we can keep this meeting efficient. But I want to thank you for being here, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. I also ask that we all are respectful of one another tonight. So let's let each other speak. We're going to hold off on applause for any commentary, and let's open up the floor.
My name is Ellen Granda, and I've been a resident of Lake Bluff since 2001. And my husband was the first person in our family to adopt pickleball back in 2015 and played both at Artesian and primarily at Blair Park. I want to acknowledge that there's over 200 people on a WhatsApp group that engage in pickleball. And all of us have an understanding and empathy for our nearby neighbors. And we want to be collaborative and cooperative with them. And we recognize that this new phenomenon is not what anybody anticipated, when pickleball began at Blair Park in 2015. So from that approach of collaboration and respect, it felt incredibly disrespectful for the village to take the stance that it did. And whether you agree that the village had the opportunity to do a cease and desist letter and cite a zoning violation, that's to be determined, through attorneys. But that's, as a taxpayer, is incredibly offensive to me. I think all of you are reasonable people, and I think all of these people, neighbors and pickleball players, are reasonable. And it would have been, I think, a much more thoughtful and expedient and maybe a much more cooperative process had the village taken another approach to this. And in my time living here, I haven't seen the village behave like this. It seems as if it is very aggressive towards a park district that is near and dear to all of our hearts. And we want to work with you. We want to work with the neighbors. And if we could avoid using our tax dollars to pay attorneys to argue about something that at the end of the day, people are looking for a good solution for the noise impact. And so that's what I would ask you, is that all of us are willing to be good partners to you, but I think good partnership is not that takes an involvement, attorneys to get involved in this. And I think collaboratively, we can come up with a great solution. And I just would encourage you, as those who do this job for no compensation, know that we're willing to come to the table and work collaboratively. So I thank you for that. It's been an incredible thing for my life to have this as a resource. And I'm having to go to Gurnee, to Highland Park, to Mundelein, to Lincolnshire, Libertyville, and we don't want to send our community members elsewhere when we've got such a great resource. And so thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ellen.
I have a question. I tried hard to get these below 5 minutes. My husband's here also. If I go over 5, should I hand it off to him? They're just over 6 minutes long.
That would be okay, right?
Is that okay? So if you want to come on up.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all for your continued time you spend for our village. Our town owes a lot to those who serve in your positions. As a longtime resident of Lake Bluff, we love this village for all the reasons you probably chose to serve on this board. Leif and I both grew up in Lake Bluff, and our family has taken advantage of all it has to offer. When we had the opportunity to buy a home that borders the Lake Bluff Park District, we were well aware it was not the quietest house in town, but it was one of the reasons why the property spoke to us. We have always welcomed the energy, the sounds of the camps, the pool, the golf course, tent parties, and even the late night paddle sounds. We feel it is our responsibility to partner with the Park District because we chose to live so close. In the last few years, with the change in leadership at the Park District, that partnership has abruptly ended. We are no longer notified about anything that affects the neighbors like we have been in the past. Except today, I got a text about a meeting on Wednesday from a commissioner, and I appreciate that. I believe you may be aware of the installation of the 6 pickleball courts at the Blair Park. We were never notified these courts were being constructed. Unfortunately, we've had to become an expert at this issue as it truly has changed our ability of our family to function inside of our home. We cannot fathom what this has done to our property value. It seems people are questioning why we're just coming forward now. It is because we tried to manage this, but with the increase in play, it has become unmanageable. We do not want to be complainers. We have nothing against pickleball players. We love to play ourselves. I'm not sure we want to promote you better complain early and often mentality in Lake Bluff. We originally talked to the Park District last summer when I spoke to John Beeler about how early players were showing up to the courts. I do not have record of this conversation. We then met on September 9th with Jennifer and John, where I expressed my concerns about players starting at 5. We were meeting on something else. There was a witness to that conversation. I wrote up a follow-up email to that meeting on September 13th, sending a picture of a sign showing the hours of operation from dawn until dusk. I was told they were looking into it at October facilities meeting, and we never heard back. Then came spring of 2023. People were starting to play very early again. The sign still read from dawn until dusk. On their new court reservation system, you could sign up online for a court reservation starting at 5 a.m. We wrote to John Beeler and Jennifer Beeler again on April 15th. After this email, they set up a meeting on April 26th to hear from the neighbors. 2 different neighbors wrote emails, 3 of us were able to show up, and finally on May 12th, they changed the times to 8 a.m. due to the village noise ordinance. People still kept playing early, so on July 7th, they started to chain the fence until 8 a.m., and we're very appreciative of this action. Our house property line is 25 feet from the pickleball courts. Nowhere in our research have we found courts anywhere in the U.S. that are closer than this to our home. I'm sure there are somewhere, but we haven't found them. Industry standard says the minimum distance away from a residence should be 300 to 500 feet. We've taken decimal readings well into the 70s in our backyard, and we've learned the pitch of a pickleball hitting a racket is that of a backing up dump truck. It affects that area of the terrain, and there's recent New York Times articles about how noise is detrimental to health, and especially when it exacerbates the nerves because it's not constant. It's a staccato of different types of hits. As we stated at the park board meeting, we can no longer use our backyard. We will never sleep past 8 a.m. with our windows open or closed, or ever take a nap during daylight hours again without going deep into our basement. We cannot hear our TV without shutting our sliding glass door. It comes into every corner of our home 12 to 13 hours a day, every day of the week. And then thanks to you all, we find out the courts were put in illegally. This new construction was never brought to the zoning board, the village, or went through the permitting process like everyone else has to in Lake Bluff. This process is not a red tape technicality. The reason for the process is to address issues like the one currently happening for all of us in Lake Bluff, to figure out things like noise violations and other burden of proof issues through research. It is my understanding that the village has waived fees for permits, but it hasn't waived the actual permitting process. We heard that the Lake Bluff School District followed the law and went through the process while building their sport court. During this legal process, neighbors were able to express their concern about the noise level associated with pickleball, and thanks to all of you, there will be no pickle played on those courts. I'm happy for those residents, as I wish this on no one, and I have to admit, a little jealous we're not given the same opportunity. Why does the school district
Gail, I'm going to pause and ask you to pass the baton.
Okay, I will. Right here, you want to just take it from me? You got it? Thank you.
Leif Gamerath. I'm happy for those residents as I wish this on no one, and I have to admit, a little jealous. Why does the school district have to go through the process and not the park district? We even heard the Tangley Oaks got the vote them down. Wilmette Park District also went through the process, and they were voted down. There has been talks about sound mitigation with the board, and we hear different comments. Commissioner Nikki Walsh and Sue Raymore have been proactive researching other towns and coming to our backyard to take decibel readings, and we are grateful for this. Other park board commissioners have stated in meetings the sound mitigation is a lot of money for only 9 houses. Maybe if players use quieter paddles, the problem will resolve itself, because $40,000 is a lot to spend. The initial recommendation was to cover only 2 sides, not the side projecting our house, because we don't want players to feel like they're in prison. So, you can see our home and sanity is in the hands of 8 people with very different opinions on how to serve and protect their residents. This has been extremely stressful. We are not hopeful for sound mitigation. We have read that you cannot mitigate sound when pickleball is so close. Our property sits higher, and if you can see the play, you will always hear the play. We are hopeful for the village trustees to take a closer look at what has happened here. How can the park district just do whatever they want when the rest of the town has to go through a process? It is perhaps ironic that the new middle school sports courts sit right where my kindergarten and first grade rooms were at East School, where we learned some of the best characteristics of being a Lake Bluffer. You admit your mistakes, you own them, apologize, be honest with your actions, follow the rules, and most importantly, look out for your neighbors. We certainly hope this is not an act carelessly and then ask forgiveness later, and then let's just keep playing on those courts anyway. We hope, determined, that's it, that's all I have.
Wait, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We believe there are many other places in this wonderful town where we can put these courts that will not harm any family or any property value. Even the area the golf course tent lies on would be a better option if if it has to remain on the district campus. We are hopeful that the village will help keep the same standards and processes for all the residents, institutions, and jurisdictions, and we will find a solution together. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Some information that,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, everybody. My name is Sally Salzer, and I am the coordinator for pickleball for the Encore Club of Lake Bluff and Lake Forest. It's a club of women. It's a women's club that are sort of the advanced of newcomers. So once you grow out of newcomers over a period of time, you can join Encore. And pickleball is one of many activities that we have that we coordinate times for women to play, and we use Lake Bluff's courts some of the time. We also use some of the painted pickleball courts in Lake Forest on Waveland Park, South Park, Everett Park. And when the whole issue happened that Ellen was discussing about the letter that Drew sent, we actually some players moved over to Lincolnshire. And there happens to be a house that is closer than your house to the pickleball courts, which is, if you go to Whitegate Park in Lincolnshire, you will see a house that's absolutely right next to the pickleball courts. I don't know how they feel about it. They didn't come out and say anything to us, but I want to just echo Ellen's comments that we have about 87 women that are in the pickleball rotation. Not all of them play every week. Some have never played but want to be part of the group and want to learn. We send lots of members. Part of our requirement to play pickleball with the Encore group is that you have to take lessons. So we send people to both Corey McKendry, who is the pro pickleball player in Lake Bluff. We also send some members to April Volpe, who teaches in Lake Forest. So it's sort of, we give people a choice of, but we want you to learn how to play, and that happens through the Park District. Many of us that are members of Encore are also pickleball members of the Lake Bluff Park District. So we pay a fee, an annual fee, to be a pickleball member so that we can use the courts and both inside in the winter and outside. So that being said, my only comment is, I guess part of what I'm concerned about, obviously the comments Ellen made about the very harsh letter that we were privy to through the Park District. But the second part was locking the courts for a week versus let's figure out a solution together. And I don't know any of the details of the number of meetings you've had with Dave or other commissioners of the Park District, so I can't speak to that. But bottom line is, we love playing pickleball. Those are fantastic courts you have in this community, and we want to do whatever we can to work together with the neighbors and the village to keep those courts open on reasonable hours. We never schedule time before 8 a.m. ever for our pickleball play, and we never do it at night. So if there are things we can do as an organization to support the Park District and the village, don't hesitate to come to us and ask, because we'd love to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Hello, my name's Nathan Pavlik. I live at 670 Green Bay Road, also adjacent to the pickleball courts. And when we moved to Lake Bluff in 2016, we also saw the proximity to Blair Park as a big draw. Actually made the decision to purchase the home while sitting in Blair Park with our kids that loved the proximity and a lot of the energy that the park brings. I will say, after the resurfacing of the courts and reopening with pickleball, it is a dramatically different experience, both in terms of notification, things like extending paddle hours by a few minutes. We would get letters asking for comments, different to the experience here, and then certainly with the noise. Do recognize that there were painted lines when we purchased the property for pickleball. never once do I remember pickleball being played at that point. There were not nets for that, and our understanding with the prior director is that those were meant to be temporary. As far as the noise, I guess my prior experience with tennis, yes, you could hear people playing if you were outside. There was one individual that would play just against the wall, and that noise was a little bit louder, but still nothing compared to what it is today with up to 24 people playing at once in close proximity, have young children, and don't wish that impact on them or my neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Hi there, my name is Kalapidvitis, and I'm a longtime resident of Lake Bluff, and I also started playing pickleball last year. I support what Ellen said, I support what Sally said, and I'd like to add that if you would like to take a look at Nicholas Dowden Park in Libertyville, you will see that there is a line of houses that is closer than the houses in Lake Bluff, and they are not using sound mitigation at all. So if you would like to take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Colleen Nicholas. I've lived in Lake Bluff for 16 years and love it here. I was just introduced to pickleball last year. Played too much in the beginning of this year, so I can't play this season, unfortunately. I just want to concur with Ellen Granda's statements and express the fact that I know a good number of people on the Park District Board, and I just want to underscore that they are a compassionate group of people who I think want to be reasonable. I think they have a high level of emotional intelligence and really want to work collaboratively in this. And I think the thing that sort of has surprised me, as a lot of people, was just, again, the tone of the letter. It was just very off-putting, and I think we're all in this to create a solution and be compassionate to our neighbors, but resolve it in a more mutual, agreeable manner. That's all. Thank you, Colleen.
My name's Jeff Hallway. I just want to reiterate that I support the people that have been up here for pro pickleball. I believe we can come to a reasonable solution. I would just add to what they said. As you're aware, the Park District asked people to make contributions to finish up the cost of the courts. And those of us that have, I got a very nice note actually in the mail today from the Park District, are stifled a little bit from making future contributions when it's kind of unknown what's going to happen over there. So we'd really like to see a solution to that so we can get our checkbooks out again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other in-person comments? Anybody online? If you're online, please raise your hand.
Doesn't appear anybody is.
Doesn't look like it. I want to thank everybody who's come tonight to make comments. That's how government works, and we're all here to represent the village and the people in the village, and we can't do that without hearing from you, so thank you.
Madam May I?
Yes, of course.
So just really quickly for people in the room understanding, like, where does this go from here and so forth. So the Lake Bluff Park District Attorney, Scott Puma, sent the village attorney, Peter Friedman, a letter via email at the close of business on Friday, so that's July 21st. In short, Mr. Puma's letter is asking the village to rescind the letter and it change its position with respect to the letter I sent as the zoning administrator of the village on July 13th. So the Park District essentially believes they're within their rights to change the tennis courts to pickleball courts, which is a change in principal use without going through a public hearing process or seeking a Rio development plan approval, which is required by the village's zoning regulations. The park, as it's been commented earlier tonight, the Park District has allowed pickleball to restart play. I think that started on Saturday morning. The village attorney and I spoke today, and he said that he'd be responding in writing to the Park District's attorney, telling him essentially the following: that the village will not reconsider or rescind the letter submitted to Park District Executive Director John Beeler, and that this is the village's interpretation of its code, and the district cannot ignore the letter or the village's zoning authority. So if the district believes that I, as zoning administrator, erred in my interpretation of the village's code, then they must formally appeal this administrative decision to the Joint Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals. Importantly, this window of time for the district to appeal this decision is closing, as they only have 30 days from my July 13th letter. The village attorney will advise Mr. Puma that the village remains open to working and helping the district to identify a reasonable interim plan, which was contained in my letter. And the village, some of that comments heard here tonight were about working together, and seems to be a lot of alignment on that to try to find a way to keep things moving forward beyond what the district has already, actions they've already taken, while they attempt to secure the required zoning relief or even appeal. And I think ultimately, the village and the Park District have been excellent partners over the years. This appears to be a hiccup in that, but we are in the position of trying to correct a violative situation, but we have to enforce our zoning code, and that's the way it is, or we all risk outcomes that are negative or alter the village's community character, or result in the development or use of land that is inappropriate, disorderly, or puts incompatible uses together, or generally results in undesirable situations that do not promote or protect the residents of the village. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you very much for reading that. Without any further comments, we're going to move on with our agenda. Agenda item number 5, the village board sets the order of the meeting. The village president and board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during the village board meeting. And I am going to propose that we take item number 12 out of order, barring any objection.
No objection.
See no objection. So I think we will move on to item number 12. Item 12, an ordinance granting variations from the village's side yard setback and daylight plane height restrictions for 500 and 502 East North Avenue. In March of 2022, the village received an application from Mike and Trish Reddy to request daylight plane and side yard setback variations to construct a second-story addition at 500 East North Avenue. As you may recall, the existing home at 500 East North Avenue is non-conforming and uniquely encroaches onto the neighboring property of 502 East North Avenue. The PCZBA recommended 4-2 that the village board grant the requested relief. After the PCZBA meeting, the applicants submitted revised plans that reduced the encroachment onto the neighboring property, and the variances were granted 5-0 by the village board in August of 2022. The project was permitted and construction began in the spring of 2023. During construction, it was discovered by the builder that previous additions unexpectedly used balloon framing, which presented structural roof loading challenges. As a result, the exterior bathroom wall would need to be bumped out approximately 3 feet to align with the first floor wall. These changes result in approximately 32 square feet total of additional floor space on the second floor, most of which will extend into the daylight plane and 5 feet side yard setback. On June 23rd, 2023, the village received an application from Mike and Trish Reddy to request further variations to address these changes. The applicant has submitted a letter of support from the property owner at 502 East North Avenue, the property that the home at 500 East North Avenue encroaches onto. The village's 1998 Historic Architecture Survey concluded that the house served as the office of the Lake Bluff Camp Meeting Association before the building was physically moved from Prospect Avenue around 1898. It is possible that this condition was created due to inadequate surveying at that time. This property was designated a Lake Bluff local landmark in August of 2022, meaning the village's new special consideration for landmarked property variances can be applied. On July 19th, 2023, the PCZBA, following a public hearing regarding the request, unanimously voted 5-0 to forward a favorable recommendation to the village board. As the additional floor space requested does not further encroach onto the neighboring property, and when looking at the front of the house is hidden from view by another portion of the house. In order to expedite completion of the project, the applicant has requested approval of both first and second readings at this meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
On first reading,
Oh, this is a first reading.
with the possibility of waiver of second.
Okay.
So this is first reading.
I need a motion, though.
You need a motion to
What?
approve first reading.
To approve first reading. So moved.
Thank you. Seconded. This is a roll call vote.
If there's any
I'm
other
sorry, if
questions.
is there any questions or objections? Okay, so Regis, I tip my hat. It's not as easy to remember the,
And there's public comment.
any public comment?
Just for clarity's sake, too, I have moved the property owner and their builder and their architect is present in the room if there are any questions of the applicant. So,
Do we want to invite the architect up, or is it necessary?
it's up to you all. I mean,
Would
it's-
anybody
have any
like to
questions.
hear
I don't,
more?
I don't have any.
No
any
questions. Well,
so you have a motion and a second. It's a voice vote.
we're
No
okay. Nobody has any questions. We've heard so much, and I'll just say again, and I said it to Drew this earlier today, that we really appreciated the work you did. It was very thoughtful the first time you came in and spoke to us, and we all look forward to seeing this house, this beautiful historic piece of property completed. So it is
Voice vote for first reading.
it's a voice vote for first reading, but
Right.
aren't we waiving? So then we'll need
That's
a
a
second?
second motion
Okay.
to request a waive second.
So, first reading, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we can move on. Do I hear a motion to waive second reading?
I will make a motion to waive second reading.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Any
Public comment?
public comment? Anyone online?
No one appears to be raising their hand to be recognized to be heard at this time for public comment on this zoning matter.
Okay, and any discussion, questions, concerns?
No.
That will be a roll call vote.
Yes.
Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Fisher,
Do I get a vote today?
you do.
Okay, aye.
Trustee Freed,
Aye.
Trustee Rappin,
Aye.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion passes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So we'll return to the regular order of our agenda unless anybody else on the village board would like to take anything out of order. I hear none. So item 6, village finance report. Good evening, Bettina.
Actually, 6A is the warrant report first.
So we'll start with 6A warrant report for July 11th through July 24th, 2023, and June 2023 payroll expenditures.
So is there a motion to approve?
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Anyone opposed?
Was there any questions?
Any questions?
Public comment?
Public comment?
Another roll call vote.
Okay, we got a roll call vote. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Fried,
Aye.
Trustee Rappin,
Aye.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Cole,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes.
Yep.
And then item 6B,
Correct?
consideration of monthly financial report.
Looking for a motion?
Can we please have a motion?
Motion to accept the report? All right, there was,
Your second?
Trustee Cole made the motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, you have a second.
Any public comment?
Bettina,
Bettina,
give you some highlights?
please give us some highlights.
Sure. Good evening. So the monthly sales tax revenue on a cash basis for June fiscal year '24 is $326,850, which is $28,958 or 9.7% greater than the fiscal year '23 cash receipts for the same period. General fund fiscal year '24 total revenues of $3,438,475 are $418,656 greater than the fiscal year '23 year-to-date revenues. And this is largely due to the disbursement of $151,818 in allocated funds from the mosquito abatement dissolution. Fiscal year '24 current expenditures are consistent with or less than budgeted for the total general fund. And fiscal year-to-date expenditures of $1,538,913 are $168,963 greater than the expenditures for the same period in fiscal year '23.
Does anybody have any questions for Bettina tonight?
Maybe just a broad comment, Bettina. It looks like our financials are in equal or better position than we were last year. The general health of the village is good.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? No? Okay, this is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 7, village administrators report.
The only other thing I would add is this Saturday, world-class bike racing will be back in the village, in the downtown, with the Lake Bluff, North Shore Lake Forest Criterium. It's all part of the Intelligentsia Cup race series that is, we're one of a handful of races that are part of the America's Cup series, you know, that are in Brooklyn, Tulsa, Lake Bluff, Chicago, all the major metropolitan areas of the United States. But that race draws several thousand attendees and world-class riders. It's an exciting event, and our merchants generally do very well that day, running out of food and beverages. So it's a great chance to show off the town, and looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you, Drew. Moving on, item number 8, village attorney's report.
No report.
Item 9, village president's report. He is not here. Did he send anything? Is there anything to report from President Charlo? And I certainly don't have a report as President Pro Tem. So we are going to move on to item 10, acceptance of the correspondence. Please note all correspondence was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in the informational report on July 7th and 14th, 2023. Anything to, a motion to accept? So I'm looking for a motion to accept the correspondence.
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Anybody opposed? Any commentary?
vote.
It's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Item 11, a resolution authorizing Swalco grant funding for the village's food waste diversion pilot project. Take the motion first before I read it, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to consider this resolution,
Or to approve the grant.
to approve the grant?
So moved.
Second.
Over the past several months, the village has been working with a group of residents interested in establishing a communal food scrapping pilot program in their neighborhood. With limited participation in the village's current ride-along food scrapping program, testing a different means to divert food waste appeared to be a worthwhile venture, especially given the grassroots nature of the project. As envisioned by the volunteer organizers, food scrap receptacles will be placed in certain locations in the North Terrace subdivision where food scraps can be deposited anytime, and then the village's hauler will pick up the material on their regular collection routes. A survey of the neighborhood resulted in approximately 60% of the households within the North Terrace signing up to participate in the project. 4 specific areas have been determined to be suitable for placement of the food scrap receptacles, and the volunteer team is now working with both the Boy Scouts and other volunteer construct animal-proof enclosures for the Groot carts. Fortunately, the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County, SWALCO, agreed to fund the project at its June 15, 2023 Board of Directors meeting. The attached grant will provide $16,000 to fund 100% of the project and allow the village to continue being a leader in waste diversion by cultivating environmental stewardship and growing the knowledge base for future SWALCO initiatives. Any discussion, comments, questions?
Feels very Lake Bluff, this initiative, and it's in the North Terrace, right? We have a few trustees that live in the North Terrace.
You do.
Great of SWALCO to participate in this and wow, this is great.
It's not too dissimilar for what Boston's been doing. Boston's had something similar for quite some time, and they're adding units. It's just, they also have different programs, but it's just another way to create diversion out of the waste, stream. So it's, everybody has different practices or needs, and this may be a different way to see if we can find success. So,
And if other terraces end up coming and utilizing that, it's a problem or not a problem?
Come to bring their food waste to the North
Right,
Terrace.
right.
That's right.
Taryn wants
I guess
some
it'd be
food
a good problem to find out, right?
That's right.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point of this pilot program, to see
Yeah.
how it runs and flows and address any of those kind of concerns. It's my neighborhood. I look forward to it. Pretty excited about it.
I know we've had this discussion before, and the grant is terrific. I'm glad to explore other alternatives. But I continue to wonder if there's some way to improve the participation in the
Ride-along.
ride-along program.
Yeah, I think part of that is that over time, fewer and fewer households are taking care of their properties, lawn maintenance and so forth. So there is fewer and fewer people setting bags of grass clippings or leaves, and so that results in fewer opportunities for people to participate.
Oh, I see. I see, because the primary way in which one participates is to include food scraps.
Right in their yard waste
With
bags.
the yard waste, not the container on top of the.
That can happen. I mean, it's people there are folks that I see around town on collection day. There's little pails here and there. People set them by their container, set it on top of the container, and there is participation in that manner as well. But and I know as part of this survey work, I went out with that grassroots group and interviewed the neighborhood, and there were people that are composting in their backyard, right? They're just handling it on site. So there's
Yeah.
different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's successful, and I hope we see an expansion. And I hope that SWALCO continues to be such a great community partner.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do a roll call?
No.
No, it's time to do a roll call. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Freed.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye. So the motion passes. Let's move on to agenda item 13, a resolution granting a fireworks permit to the Lake Bluff Park District 2023 Lake Bluff Birthday Bash. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Following the continued success of the Lake Bluff Birthday Party, a community group is organizing the 3rd annual Lake Bluff Birthday Bash. The event will again occur at Blair Park and the Lake Bluff Golf Course the evening of Saturday, September 23rd, 2023. Similar to prior years, the Birthday Bash program is proposed to include a public fireworks show. Section 5-7-6-2 of the Village Municipal Code makes it, quote, unlawful to at any time sell, offer for sale, give away, possess, store, discharge, or otherwise use fireworks of any kind within the village, provided, however, that upon a permit being issued therefor by the Board of Trustees, fireworks may be stored and used for public exhibitions. Accordingly, the village board will need to issue a permit for fireworks to occur at the upcoming celebration. Any comments, questions? Anybody in the house wanting to talk about it? President Beeler, do you want to? Anybody online?
Anybody participating online who would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand. You'll be permitted to speak. Ma'am.
This will be a roll call vote as well. Clerk Alchemus, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye. That motion-
Trustee Freed.
Oh,
Aye.
motion carries.
14.
Item 14, trustees report. Do any trustees wish to make a report this evening? Okay. Item 15, executive session. Do we have one tonight?
No, ma'am.
And item 16, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That adjourns this evening's meeting. See you all next time.
Well done, President.